I want you to turn in your bulletin again, and I want to reread this story. I want to start off this sermon right in the Bible. And you just heard it, but I want to read it again for you so it's fresh on your mind. Luke 19, he entered Jericho and was passing through. Behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. And he was seeking to see who Jesus was. But on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all grumbled. He has gone in to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold. And Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. My church back at home, every Easter, does something, well, I guess this is my church now, but my old church back at home, every year does something in Easter called the Resurrection Run. And on Easter morning, we all gather in a cemetery with a small brass band and a preacher wearing much of what I have, but underneath he's wearing running clothes. And we start at the cemetery, and we run to the church. Well, one year I decided to do it. And while my license plate has the word run on it, I hate running. It's something that the DMV just gave me. And I think God has a funny sense of humor. But I hate running. But this year, I decided to make the journey, to run from the cemetery to the church. And so I set out with the idea that I would run the whole time, that I wouldn't stop, that I wouldn't walk, that I wouldn't jog, that I would run the whole time, all 3.2 something miles or whatever that adds up to, a 5K. And I set out running. And what I remember is approaching that finish line and seeing the top of the balloon arch in the parking lot near the church. And as I climbed that last hill and saw that a balloon arch, everything else went away. And it was just me and that finish line. All the hills that I climbed, all the people that I passed, and all the people who passed me, all that went away, and it was just me and the completion of that race. In college, I did a project. I was in a scenic design class. And we had to design a set from a show. I picked the show Arsenic and Old Lace. It's an old comedy. And in the final project, we had to build the set. And I had worked on it here and there and everywhere. It came to the night before, and it was the first all-nighter that I had pulled. The class was at 9:30, and I had started working on the project probably around 4 o'clock that afternoon. And it was 8:30 a.m., and I was so close to being done. I could see the finish line in the distance, the class where I would turn in that project and get my grade and be done for the semester. And everything else went away. All the long hours I had pulled, all the thoughts and ideas I had accomplished. It was just gluing those last pieces onto that set that I had designed. And I got into this trance. Now, maybe it wasn't a scenic design class for you, or maybe it wasn't running for you, but maybe it was a career. And you poured everything into a project that you did. And all the hard work that you'd done, all the things that you'd had accomplished, it all went away, and you just saw that finish line, the top of that balloon arch in the distance, and you are charging towards it, and you get this tunnel vision, right? The blinders go on like a horse in a horse race, and you forget about everything that has happened, and you're just focusing on completing the project, completing the race, completing the task. pick up Jesus in our story for today, Luke chapter 19, and he was approaching the finish line. He was on his way to Jerusalem to finish the task that he came to do, the ministry that he came here to do, that he took on human flesh to accomplish. It's at the end of his race. Jerusalem was in sight, and he was just passing through. Things move quickly at the end of the races we run. In the moment, it seems slow, but as we approach the finish line, it was moving fast. And in Scripture, Jesus' ministry, his journey was moving pretty quickly. In 3 verses, in 3 chapters, we enter his passion. We enter the story of his crucifixion, his sacrifice for our lives. In 3 short chapters, it's moving quickly. Like a rock rolling down a hill, like a car gaining speed, like a snowball getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He was at the end of his journey. He was nearing the finish line. And in that moment, he put on the brakes. He stopped the car. He stopped the boulder. He stopped the snowball. When he saw this weird sight, a rich man in his fancy rich person clothes climbing in a tree. What a weird sight. What a weird scene that would be. But Jesus puts the brakes on in his story, in his mission, in his journey. And he stops time to spend a little time with this short little man. Zacchaeus was rich. And if you don't know anything about biblical tax collectors, they would collect a little bit for themselves on the side. And they could really ask for whatever they wanted. And people would have to give it to them. So he had an abundance of anything that he wanted. He could buy anything on earth, and yet he was searching for something. He was seeking something. What would cause a rich, wealthy man in fancy clothes to climb a tree just to get a glimpse of this man named Jesus? He was searching for something that this wealth that he had acquired couldn't give him. And we see in this moment when Jesus halts the race, stops the show, stops the car, we see this beautiful interaction. This odd sight of Jesus marching through the city on his way through and looking up at this rich man in a tree. And Jesus doesn't say, I'll be back. Just hang out there for a little bit. Let me do my thing in Jerusalem, and I'll be back to see you later. He doesn't say, here, one of my disciples will talk to you, and he'll tell you all about me, and just let me finish my journey, because it's in sight. He doesn't say, I don't have time for you. I'm sorry. He doesn't say, can this wait? Can this wait, Zacchaeus? No. He says, Zacchaeus, this can't wait. My relationship with you is far more important. My interaction with you is too important to wait. Hurry down from that tree. Let's talk. Let me come to your house and spend some time with you. Jesus stops everything. Even as his race is almost finished, as the finish line is in sight, he stops to care for this one man who just happens to be in a tree in Jericho. I remember standing at the finish line of that race and looking back on it and all the hills that I had climbed and I had conquered. and all the people that I had passed, and all the people who had passed me in that race. I look back on that project that I had done for class. I think of all the hours that I spent in, all the cuts that I had gotten from the paper and the X-Acto knife, and all the glue that had been stuck to my fingers, and all the mental creativity that I had poured into that project. You look back on your career and you think of those projects that you completed, and those people that, well, didn't follow through to help you. And you look back on your life and think of the trouble that you had and the burden that you carried with you through the troubles that you had to go through. As we travel in these journeys, as we race towards these finish lines in life, you look back, I look back, and I realize that it was all about me. Everything that I remember was things that happened to me or things that I did. We get tunnel vision and we forget about the people around us. It's all about what I've done or what I haven't done. We get so caught up in crossing the finish line that when we actually cross the finish line, we really don't remember much about the race at all. It's really all just a blur. We don't remember really what had happened, and we don't really remember the people who we interacted with along the way. It's all about my accomplishment and what I've done. I hate to say, but I don't remember anyone along the way who needed encouragement, all well knowing that there were people who were struggling with that race. Because I was so focused on myself. I was so focused on climbing the hill, of passing the crowd, of the crowd passing me, that I didn't see the people around me. We get so caught up in our work. We so easily get tunnel vision as we near the finish line that we miss the man in the tree. We miss our friend who's struggling with something, or a coworker who's struggling with work that we could support and help and encourage. Because we're all focused on ourselves. We not only miss our friend who is searching for something more, but we miss the man in the tree. We forget about Jesus and the extent that he went to get to know us, to express his love for us. The extent he would go to get you back. We forget about the man in the tree. And his extent that he would go to pursue us, to seek us. He searched you out. And through your baptism, whether it was at that font or another font or in a big pool of water, he not only gave you a promise that he would never leave you, but he also, in that simple, unassuming act of baptism, said that I will dwell not only with you, but in you through my Spirit. He didn't wait for you to decide. He didn't wait for you to do better, to be more, to search in the right places. No, in that moment, he said, Jeffrey, David, Bev, Debbie, Pat, June, all of you. He said, you're mine. This can't wait. My relationship with you is far more important than anything. In that moment that you were brought to the font by somebody or by the Holy Spirit working in your heart, In that moment, he said, I will never leave you. I will always see you. I will always pursue you. In that moment, Jesus said, today, salvation comes to you. Salvation comes to this house. Christ pursues us. And he is right there for us when we seek him. He is right there for those in the world who are searching for something more. He desires all to come to the knowledge of him. At the finish line of his earthly ministry, as we look back and think about the things that we've done and the things that we've accomplished, at the finish line of his ministry, at the ascension, Christ's ascension into heaven, he didn't think of himself. He didn't think of the pain that he went through. He didn't think of the mocking that happened. He didn't think of the persecution that happened to him or the sadness that he felt. He thought of you. He thought of all of us. As Christians, this is where we are called to join Jesus. In seeking those and having a perspective of the world where our eyes aren't on ourselves. We're told to seek those who are searching something more, something that you've been given. We're called to open up our eyes a little wider and to look for people who are searching, who are seeking, without success. I look at my life and I look at our lives and I wonder what our lives would look like. I wonder what the world would look like if we stopped having tunnel vision. If we stopped focusing on ourselves and looking at the world. If we stopped getting caught up in trying to finish the race so quickly. And we took the time to see those around us. To find the rich man in a tree. From your baptism, you carry this message of salvation with you. And we carry it with us into the world. And with it comes a hope for the future no matter what happens during the race, whether you come in first or you come in dead last. You have that promise of salvation. I look back on that race and I look back on that project. I think about it a little bit. I don't know what place I came in. I don't know what time I ran in it. I don't really remember actually how difficult it was. I just know I hate running. I look back on that project and I remember that I turned it in. I remember that I slept really well the night after that. But I don't remember what grade I got. And to be honest, right now it's in a landfill somewhere. All that work I poured in, all that exhaustion that I had during that race and during that project, I don't remember it. It doesn't really mean anything to me anymore. Yeah, I accomplished the race. Yeah, I finished the project, but it didn't really affect me in the long run. It's all a blur. But in this moment, and in whatever journey you're in now, whatever stage you are in that journey, whether you're just starting off or you're nearing the finish line, Christ is calling us in the midst of our journey to join him in seeking the lost, in seeking out those who are seeking something with more substance than this world can give them, and to bring salvation to them through the work and the word of Jesus. I want you to do something for me real quick. I know we don't have a lot of pencils and pens, but I want you to take out your bulletin. And on the back there's some lines. And it says, sermon notes. And whether you've ever taken notes or not, it doesn't bother me. But here in this time, as we enter this time of giving thanks through the giving of our offerings, I want you to take a minute and write down the name of somebody who you encountered this week, this past week, who is searching for something more, who is striving their whole life to gain what this world has with little to no success, or success in the standards of the world, but deeper meaning is not there. I want you to write down the name of somebody right now. But I also want you to write down the name of somebody who you may come in contact with in the coming week. Somebody who you can open up your eyes to see the struggle that they have in their life. Who you can bring salvation to in the word and the work of Jesus, or just a little hope and comfort from somebody who is secure in their salvation, secure in their future no matter what's going on in your own life. Christ is calling us to join him on this journey, to seek and to save the lost, to seek the seeking, to seek the searching, to widen up our eyes on the world so that we can see the man in the tree. In the name and for the sake of Jesus, who pursues each and every one of us. Amen.